We'll call to order this regular select board meeting for October 6th, 2021. You're all set to go. Good, thank you. And do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
No.
Are we recording? Recording?
We had one, we wanted to move the energy fund down below.
You want to do what?
We wanted to move the energy fund, energy advisory committee resolution down below because Alan's not gonna be here until 6.
Oh, okay. So below.
Anything,
Right.
Just to the end.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so approval of minutes of September 25th, 2021. I was not present, so.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 25th, 2021.
And I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, then all those in favor?
Aye.
And I will recuse myself. Okay, so warrants to the treasurer.
I'll make a motion to approve and execute the warrants to the treasurer as presented upon review.
All
I'll
right,
second.
second, good. It's been moved and seconded to approve and execute the warrants to the treasurer as presented upon completion of review. Karen, would you like to review them for us?
I will. So payroll warrant dated October 8th, 2021 in the amount of $18,336.46.
So we aren't separating them out, but, oh, I see, there's just an E for electronic now?
Yes.
Okay.
So we continue to add direct deposit, which is good.
So only 3 holdouts, eh?
Yeah.
That's a huge improvement, actually.
Yeah.
Good. All right, any questions about that?
They all look familiar.
All right. So then there's an accounts payable.
Accounts payable dated September 25th through October 8th, 2021 in the amount of $81,828.65. So on here you will see names, they're refunds.
Mhm.
So homestead exemption came in and they had a credit. Is there anything else that looks unfamiliar or you have a question?
I'm just curious what we spent at WW. What was that? That's an unusually large bill for, is that related to that bridge maybe? Or
No,
what was it?
it was a culvert.
Oh.
So it's, 6 pieces of plastic culvert.
Okay. Thank you.
And the Caterpillar is,
That's
18.
the lease agreement for the excavator.
got it,
It's
okay,
like the 5th payment.
got it, nice.
Okay.
And Fitzpatrick is left over from the southern,
Yeah, that's a little bit of driving.
got it,
They still continue to do some
Yes.
material
Got it.
delivery.
nice.
So when they have time, they do that. Yep.
And do I remember Rick Pettit is from the pool?
It is, that's
Yeah, okay.
the final invoice for him.
Got it. Nice.
All right.
Cool.
Any
That's it for
other
me.
questions?
No,
That's it for me.
All right. So it was moved and seconded to approve and execute the warrants. We have now completed review. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
aye.
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 Do you have we don't have a signature page for those. You,
In
And
there?
that,
oh, okay.
yeah, right
Yeah.
in that.
So next would be public comment on items not on the agenda. Does anybody have public comment on items not on the agenda?
Hi, folks.
Hi, Swift.
Sorry, I meant to get on the agenda. I just wanted to update people from the Equity and Inclusion committee meeting and bring up some pieces. So the first thing that was brought in was updating the Black Lives Matter mural. And what came up in our meeting was that it's almost winter and likely the plows will do damage to it. But I wanted to just gauge your interest or the town's interest in general on doing that in the spring.
I guess I would wonder, Swift, whether there is, I mean, the original agreement, as you probably will recall, was that the Equity and Inclusion Committee would do upkeep on that, and there wouldn't be cost involved to the town. If we think that's the best thing to do, the other thing I wonder about is and actually I'm guessing Eva might have an opinion about this, is there something that could be done that would make the same statement without requiring the maintenance and without being subject to looking run down a lot of the time, whether that would be a poster or a banner or not a poster, but a sign or a banner or something. I don't know, something to ponder. I mean, I'm certainly not adverse to keeping it up. It's something that if we're going to do that, it would need to be done annually, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that expensive and we were able to raise the funds fairly quickly.
Yeah,
I'd like to make a comment.
go ahead, Eva.
Well, from my experience and observation of the situation, I think that it's a mistake to repaint it there. You see, it's an invitation to confrontation, and what we want with equity and inclusion is to educate people. And I think moving something from closer to the center of the town would make more sense than to keep, because every winter it's going to be destroyed, and it's a tragic, I think it's an insult to Black Lives Matter to do that on a road like that, rather than put it up where people can actually see it and we can claim it and it can be ours in our community. As somebody, as an out lesbian and the struggle that was for me, I'm going to tell you that I find it I'm not a Black person, I'm not African American, I'm not a person of color, but I find that my observation, I know that we had people from, and I'm a member of an ACP, but we had people come out and it was exciting times. And at the same time, I think we're failing. There's a failure here involved, and I don't know if anyone else sees it that way.
Right, I think my understanding and the feedback we got was not updating it sooner. I definitely remember there being feedback on that when we didn't update it sooner, when there was damage done to it. And what I would do is I'd like to go to the Black leaders that did ask for this mural and get their feedback on what would be the next step. And I think definitely, whether we do this or not, we should go forward with something in the center of town, in addition to, or as well as, or instead of. But thank you for the feedback on that piece.
Yes.
And then the other piece that I wanted to bring in was, and Karen, I'd love to hear your feedback from Town Fair. One of our charges is talking about going over the town policies and going over hiring practices as a committee. And right now, as our current committee sits, we're not experts in doing that. And it would seem as it might be helpful in pulling in some experts in reviewing our policies. And maybe the VLCT has some of that. I don't know, Karen, what you found out yesterday in some of the resources that are existing and available to us as a town. I haven't had a chance to look at the recordings at town, and maybe you can share a little bit, Karen, around what town fair was. So people know what the heck I'm talking about.
Sure. So, I did sit in several, sessions and, they had equity and inclusion with, is it Susanna?
Would you just share what town fair is? Because I don't know how to describe it.
So town fair is VLCT, Vermont Leagues, Cities and Towns, and they offer sessions for municipalities and committees and boards. So it's very informative. I tend to get quite a bit out of it. And it happens once a year. It's usually in person, but because of the COVID, everything's been virtual. Just to let you know, Swift, and I wanted to reach out to you, but I've just been like overwhelmed. The town has hired a human resource consultant.
Oh, great.
Yes, so they will be able to help us with policies.
Awesome.
And I've been working with Jill Muir of VLCT, and she's gone through our personnel policy already. So we can take that burden off of equity and inclusion. But I do want to work with you and just kind of give you more information.
Great.
Okay.
Perfect.
I would also,
Awesome.
I would also say that, it might be an opportunity if the equity, of course, all these policies are open to public viewing.
Yes.
So if equity and inclusion wants to not sort of set a huge chunk aside for it, but to have copies provided and review them, and then if there are any questions that arise,
Yep.
either address it with VLCT or with the human resources consultant, I think that would be fine. And or, maybe if they felt it was important, the committee could meet with either of those folks also, just to see sort of what if any role the committee should have in that or could have in it if they choose to.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So the human resource consultant is at Daptiva, and they're in Brattleboro, and they are familiar with equity and inclusion as well. So I think they're gonna be a good resource for the town.
Great. And are they a year contract or we have?
No, so we have a certain budget, and then, beyond that, we'll renegotiate.
And
Okay.
really what it is starting out as sort of an exploration of our human resources circumstance and our departments, et cetera, and then making recommendations. And I think we're all assuming that we will have an ongoing relationship with them, but until they've had time to really explore how we do things and how our departments work, et cetera, they have, it's sort of an introductory process right now to get them up to speed, and then we'll figure out how to move forward with them.
Great. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, we're all feeling good about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Yep.
That's perfect. Great. That's all I wanted to bring up, and just looking forward to more. Thank you so much for your time.
Good, thank you, Swift. I don't know whether either of you want to add anything about the Black Lives Matter. I think the idea, Swift, of going to leaders, BIPOC leadership to inquire how they think the best way to either continue with the mural or do something else, I think that would be a great idea, because I think that's who should, not to put that burden on them, but to ask them what their advice and feedback would be.
I think the only other suggestion I might
Ask
make
Alyssa.
is to reach out to the school leadership as well.
Yeah.
Just to get their input on whether they, whether they still want it there, or if they've seen any issues, or what other suggestions they might have as well.
Good idea.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make sure that you were also still in support of it and that you were still on board with following both of those threads of the school, BIPOC leaders, town on board for following that. That feels great. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thanks,
Thank
Wes.
you.
Swift, I would like to thank you for your willingness to be on that committee way back at the, down the road, and how you stood up and said, I'll do it, and I'm here, and you've been here all along. And I think that's a role model for us in terms of participation and young people like yourself. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that was public comment on items not on the agenda. And next would be the town manager's report.
You all set, Mr. Fairman?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So I want to update the board regarding FEMA relief. I was at a hour-and-a-half session yesterday in Townsend in person. It was an applicant briefing, and as we all know, there is a declared emergency at this point. So what's gonna happen is FEMA will cover 75% of storm damage costs. So we're in about the $1 million range. I can let the board know right now that we are at about 139,000 of expenses from the storm right now. River Road, I can't give you a price on that because there's a pre-bid meeting on this Friday at 1 p.m. Invitations went out, it's in the paper. There's a whole process with FEMA too. And then bids will be due on October 18th. And then on October 20th, a recommendation will be made to the board to award a contract. And then we can get started with River Road.
Yes.
We're hoping by maybe December 1st. So there's a lot went on, so we had to wait for the hydraulic reports from the state, which came September 1st. Bell Engineering went to the site, looked at it, they have to do engineering plans. And the highway department took 2 days to build a temporary road, clear cut some trees, and try to prepare the site. So what Brian, when he got down in there, so the existing culvert was 4 foot, and we're looking at an 8-foot box culvert now.
Right.
And what had happened is the header, which had these large boulders on top, collapsed,
And plugged it.
and it crushed
Cool.
the inlet, and then the water backed up. So it wasn't clogged or, debris. Debris didn't, stop it. It was the rocks.
Structure failure. Yeah.
So, and that water just rose and it just wiped it out. But back to FEMA, so 75% reimbursement. We're probably looking at maybe, I want to say $500,000 in costs, and it could be a little bit lower, it might be a little bit higher. That's a rough estimate, okay?
Is that for River Road or for everything?
Everything.
For everything, okay.
So 75% of that is still gonna leave $125,750 roughly.
So,
There's a state ERAF program, and that is emergency, I had it written down here, emergency management and assistance relief or something like that. I don't have my notes right here. And right now we're at 7.5%. So it can go as high as 17.5%. That would be covered from the state. And you have to request that after FEMA pays. So the local hazard mitigation plan plays into that number. And as you all know, we're working on updating it right
Yeah.
now.
Got it?
So I will argue and fight for the 17.5%.
Yeah.
Great.
But we still might be looking at possibly 100,000 out of our own pocket.
So, just so I'm clear, when we talk about $1 million in damage, but we're talking about outlay of roughly 500, so that the other 500 really just, we make up for that with our highway department. We don't get reimbursed for highway department expenses on that, is that correct?
We will get reimbursed for labor.
Materials.
So it's more or less in kind.
Yeah,
Okay.
So the time that the crew has spent trucking material and repairing roads,
Yeah.
all of that is reimbursable.
okay,
So I don't know the number, that will drive that number a little more, okay?
Okay, yeah.
So the bottom line is that I'm not sure where we're gonna fall.
come out,
So
yeah,
we're gonna have to watch it a little bit. We have 6 months to repair, emergency work. So
Yeah.
like putting our roads back together, and
Yeah.
most of that is done. The only road that's still closed is River Road. Cemetery Road, October 25th, the week of. We're waiting on the culvert. It's coming in 3 sections.
Mhm.
There's 2 20-foot and 1 10-foot section.
Mhm.
Brian will put those together.
not a box culvert,
Not a box
No.
culvert, it's gonna be a pipe.
Yeah.
It's $23,000 for that culvert.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Brian's
what size
hoping-
is that, just out of
It's
curiosity?
gonna be an
Yeah.
8-foot.
8-footer, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a 6-foot in there that
Yeah.
was in there.
But it's also, they're gonna gravel bottom it, right, when they put it in, so.
It's gonna
the-
sit
some of
2
the
feet
eight.
down,
So
yes.
One of the sort of dump
Yep.
shift ones?
Okay.
Yes, so that road is gonna be pretty much the way it was, cause it's gonna be set down a little
Right.
bit.
Yeah.
Brian anticipates, 2 days worth of work. He'll do 1 lane open, 1 lane closed. And there might be a possibility he might have to close it down for 2 hours, but he doesn't think it's gonna close down much more than that.
Great.
So things are happening, and there's a sequence to everything. And it's gonna be the same with, trying to get reimbursement through FEMA.
Yep.
Permanent projects like River Road, you have 18 months to repair. And Brian's looking at having it done by December 1st. Or the road superintendent will have it, he's looking at December 1st.
So is the box culvert being made already? Did the engineering company already design that and the company that's making the culvert making it? Because
Yeah,
I remember up here on Route 5, that was an issue.
Took a
Right.
I
long
didn't
time.
know if that was gonna
Right.
slow us down.
yep,
So-
so here's the thing, so Stratton just put in a box culvert, Wardsboro's got a couple. So, you know, they're being made for other towns too.
Okay.
So, but
We're in line.
we're in line, so.
Okay.
I'm not worried about that. So that's kind of the whole FEMA. I have to go online and put everything into the system.
Mhm.
And,
And not that we would want to use any of the American Rescue money, but can we use any of that for repairs? It's all for going
not for
forward.
this,
Okay,
no.
good.
No,
I just thought,
That's specific to, wastewater
got it,
and, broadband,
got it. Okay.
so.
All right, so you covered River Road and Cemetery Road, it looks like, so
Yep.
summer
So-
matters.
How do you like that, huh?
Well, I just wanted to comment, I saw them out grading too, which I didn't expect.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing, thoughts that they're to that point.
What was that?
They're grading the roads already, I didn't
Yep.
expect they'd be there yet.
Yeah, so this week they'll be doing grading.
Yep.
They're catching up,
Yeah.
so. The other thing too, I wanna mention that, the road superintendent will be doing some culverts. So there's at least 3 culverts he's gonna try to get to.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna do them all before Cemetery Road,
Mm-hmm,
so Cemetery Road will be the priority. A contractor will do River Road, but we will try to get a couple other culverts done before winter. So overall, I think they've done an amazing job.
Yes.
If
Definitely.
you consider, you know,
The amount of damage.
Yeah. right, and the waiting that we had to do. I mean, we
Yeah.
couldn't move on much of anything with these, big projects until we had information.
Yeah.
And
So,
in just over 2 months too, which is pretty
Yes.
remarkable.
And also, as we've discussed before, a lot of upgrade of existing circumstances that
yeah,
are sort of a sidebar to that. so.
Definitely want to do
Yeah.
it better than it was before.
Yeah.
so Summer Matters grant was submitted on September 30th, $29,488.37. Any grant you put in, it's a process. I mean, my folder is this thick with backup information, and if they don't have it all, they request it.
Right.
It's like, so that's going okay. I'll monitor that. American Rescue Plan?
Just a question, perhaps,
Sure.
perhaps the public might like to know, what is a Summer Matters grant?
It was a grant to, fund summer programs. So the public library, Putney, Food Show, the, Food for Kids, and Putney Cares in the town pool. So any summer program, so there's free swimming, free, swim lessons, free food at the pool, snacks and drinks. And there were many free workshops and classes that the library and Putney Cares did for community kids. So, and we
And
did,
then we keep all the receipts from all that and then submit the total at the end of the time
Right.
period, so.
yep, we
Thank
did,
you.
Yep.
we ended up with a lot of positive feedback from the program.
I'm sure.
Because that was part of the grant, you had to submit like
Oh.
a survey.
Oh, okay.
And Emily and Ruby both put a narrative together.
Nice.
Good.
So, but we did end up with a lot of positive feedback.
Nice.
So hopefully, if they continue that program, we'll probably be looking at it again next year.
I think it gave a lot of different opportunities to a lot of different people, and
Yes.
people were thinking outside of the box a little bit, and
Yeah.
I think that was great.
Helpful,
Yeah.
American Rescue Plan Act funds. I attended the planning commission meeting last night and Eileen was there as well. We are getting over $734,000 within 2 years.
Yeah.
The message I'm getting from sessions that I'm attending is that municipalities really need to take the time in the beginning, talk to the constituents of the community
Mhm.
and figure out what we want to spend this money on.
Right.
So,
So it's very important, and I can't do it alone. I'm telling the board this right now.
Yeah.
And I explained it to the planning commission. We should have a committee specific to ARPA funding.
okay,
I would agree with that. We
Um,
need to reach out to the community somehow.
And the first report is due April 30th, 2022.
okay. First report on what we're thinking, not
What we're thinking about,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
yes.
So, yeah, I think we should all think about people who
Yep.
might be interested, able, willing to
Yeah.
do that kind of work.
You can
It's
look at
something-
nonprofits, you can look at schools, the key categories is housing, economic development, infrastructure, wastewater and broadband. Broadband, with the Communication Union District, they're gonna be getting funding from a different source.
Yep.
Or some of it might come from here, so
Yep.
it's directly gonna go to them.
Yep.
So I would almost stay away from broadband for right now, but it's not up to me.
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah, but that
I-
makes sense. I see what you're saying,
Yes,
sure.
Yes, Nonprofits, are, we can bring them into the mix too with this conversation. Like community centers, you can fund. You can also fund for economic development consultant.
Right.
That would, I can't vote for that strongly enough.
There's a lot to think about,
Yeah.
but I think we need to do our due diligence early and take our time, not be rushed, and in the end, not have a viable end result long
So,
term.
yeah, we should start, this time of year, between budget season and holidays, we start to chew through time really quickly. So we might want to consider a date for having sort of an introductory meeting and then plan. If it's due in April, we probably want to have people really working on it at a minimum, sort of by the beginning of the year.
I'd
Thinking,
start sooner than that.
I think thinking about it in advance of that,
Right,
but actively,
Writing a
So it looked
proposal.
like the town of Newfane has kind of hit the rails, so to speak.
Yes.
They've taken it and run, and they've got a bunch of things going on already in the
Yeah.
works.
okay,
So there's a sample RFP for a economic development consultant, right?
yes.
And
And
then
a
I think
survey.
they have a survey that they're sending out to all of their constituents. There was another thing.
survey would be a great idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Think
and
about
they're
it.
also
Absolutely.
gonna have like a public informational,
It's
session.
I think through the planning commission.
Right.
But, all those things we probably should get going on.
Rolling,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
And you said that was a new thing?
It was a new thing, yeah.
Okay.
I have a copy of the sample, and I volunteered to reach out to Wyndham Regional Commission to see if they had any resources in the
Yeah.
VSCT.
Yeah.
So I haven't done that today, but it was on my radar. I thought about it a lot.
Sounds
But
good.
anyway, so there should be some more information coming soon.
Yeah, I get notifications of, ARPA sessions.
Yeah.
And I'll share them with the board and you
Yeah.
can pass them along, but with the town plan being, revised too, I think this timing is really good for this money. And
Yeah,
we can look at a lot of different things, but it's huge.
Yeah.
And it's gonna take more than one person.
Yes. Yep,
Come out of-
So I'll keep preaching to the choir.
okay.
sounds good.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. So, on to select board items. First is the FY '22 municipal resolution for municipal planning grant.
So in your packet, last night, the planning commission did vote to move ahead with this grant. And, so now I need the blessing of the select board. So this grant is up to $22,000 and there's a 10% match from the town. And with the budget talks gonna be starting up, we can, definitely make sure that's covered in the budget for 2023. The town plan is due in 2023, but we have to start looking at it now. And we will be utilizing Wyndham Regional Commission to help us. So this grant will support that effort. So Pip Bannister did recommend applying for the grant, and they made a motion and passed that last night. I would be, the person that would be, either assisting Pip with the electronic application and reporting system, cause it's all online. And then I will be the person who will be, monitoring and administering, the paperwork and making sure everything's in the system.
So how do we want to go about, do we,
Looks like this is in the form of resolution, so.
exactly,
Like a
so
motion.
we need to adopt the
Yeah.
resolution.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to adopt the FY '22 municipal resolution for municipal planning grant.
And I'll second that.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to adopt the FY '22 municipal resolution for municipal planning grant as presented, and as recommended by both the chair of the planning commission and our town manager. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So,
So no signatures from you.
yes, on the back,
There's
signatures.
Oh, yeah,
back,
sorry.
So,
Sorry.
you want me to
can
just
sign
start
that
one? Yeah.
Yep. David's got a blue pen, so that's
I
good.
do too, we all do.
Alright.
Mine's also blue.
Okay, so next would be Grant in Aids Equipment Purchase Grant for the Highway Department.
So this is a new grant that just came out. There's money everywhere.
I was gonna say, I don't remember doing this many grants, but you gotta love a grant. So,
And this is in addition to the other grants and aid that we already have.
Yeah.
So I
Which
spoke.
we already got granted, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I spoke to the road superintendent and, he has chosen the leaf blower.
mhm.
And there's a 20% match from the town, so I think we're gonna be okay with that in his budget. And I did talk to Dummerston and Westminster, because we were gonna see which town, what each town was gonna purchase from this grant and maybe
maybe
share
share
equipment.
Right.
But all 3 towns are gonna get a leaf blower.
Oh.
I thought we already had a leaf blower.
We have
We
one
do.
that goes on the tractor, but he
Right.
wants to put this one on the truck.
Oh, okay.
And is that because we don't get around with the leaf blower enough because
Could
we
move
need to do it
faster, I
more?
wonder.
No,
Because
the
of the
other
short
one
period of
doesn't,
time?
it doesn't,
It's set up to just do the road.
yeah,
It's not really set up to go down in the
Right,
ditch. I was
right.
wondering. I also wondered if you have such a small window from the time the leaves fall
Right.
to the time it
Yes.
snows,
yeah,
that maybe you need to cover more territory. Maybe.
yeah,
So this would be mounted on a pickup, I'm
Yes.
assuming, and then you can sort of angle it and focus it.
yeah.
Maybe there's a hose or something, I don't know. I've
So,
never seen one. on a
Yeah,
pickup.
he's looking, so,
Great.
All right.
Chairman?
Yes,
I'm curious about that, and the public might be. Grant and aids equipment purchase grant, how much money could we get, and how much of that money would be spent on getting just a leaf blower? In other words, could there be extra money to buy something else besides?
I don't know whether you
No.
have a
Looks like
copy of this, Mr. Fairman, but on the back of the form we have, it
Check.
shows municipalities may request, so they're giving us a menu.
right,
So we have the option, we could get a roller compactor or a leaf blower, hydro seeder, plate or jumping jack, tractor mounted shoulder disc, hay bale shredder, or a stone screener. And so, I guess the consensus within the highway department is leaf blower. And they tell us, so their contribution would be towards a $7,000 purchase would be $5,600, and we would be cash match of $1,400. So they lay it out pretty clearly as these are your options.
And that you can only have one.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you pick one off the menu and that's it, if I understand you correctly.
That's
Yeah.
what it seems
right,
like, yeah.
it's up to a certain amount, so I assume if it's more than
Thank you.
that amount, we're still on the hook for the rest of it.
Municipalities may request to purchase one of the eligible types of equipment below.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So,
Wyndham Regional Commission also is doing like a survey, so for each town, they wanna know what they're going to buy.
Okay,
mhm.
So the whole share equipment thing is already, they're already looking at it.
Okay, so I would, how about a motion to approve a letter of intent to participate in the municipal roads grants and aid program equipment purchase?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so it has been moved and seconded to approve a letter of intent to participate in the Municipal Roads Grants and Aid Program equipment purchase. Is there any further discussion? Any questions? All those in favor?
You know,
Yeah, go ahead,
I'm gonna
Eva.
go back to the leaf blower. I watched the leaf blower go by, and where do the leaves get blown? They get blown in the ditch. And then where do they go? On a steep slope, where do they go? Where do those leaves go?
Well,
They potentially block the culvert. I had my culvert blocked once when my neighbor years ago blew all the leaves into the ditch. It's a tricky thing, this ditch and leaves.
well, I think that what we were just discussing, as you probably have observed, the leaf blower we have, it's a big
I see
PTO
it, I know.
PTO driven thing, and it just blows straight out. And I think the expectation is there's enough volume from that to blow leaves further. But I'm assuming Brian would be thinking that if we can sort of angle and clean ditches with this, and then maybe use them in conjunction, I don't know.
I think
But
you're
really to get the leaves out and instead of in your culvert, Eva, maybe onto your lawn.
And no, it would
Blow them back
it would be more likely, because my lawn is sloped down to the, that's no problem. But it might actually, yeah, it's still tricky, you know.
It
There's
is.
there's not enough slope of, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. We just see how the hell it goes.
Yeah, no, I
As long
agree.
as
but-
nobody blows them back into the.
Maybe we should talk to Brian and get some information and come back and tell you how this one works. But it sounds like if it's mounted in the back of a pickup, it's far more flexible, and he's hoping to use it to clean out ditches and culverts instead of just blow everything off the side of the road and then fill them, which is what you've observed and I've observed. So maybe a two-step process. Clean the road so you can scrape it, and then clean the ditch out with
So,
another blower. Let's hope.
In this category, Eva, it actually says leaf blowers to clean leaves and sediment from ditches and reduce culvert plugging. State maximum award. So clearly the intent is to prevent that problem, not exacerbate it. So we'll do all the proper trainings and hopefully it'll work well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and I will do a sign.
You sign that one.
Okay, so next for us is Energy Advisory Committee resolution to create a special fund.
So I guess we could do the, oh, no, there is. We did move it, but Alan is here, so.
Oh, that's right, I forgot we rearranged it. So we can go ahead with this,
Okay.
if that's okay.
So the Putney Energy Committee is proposing that the town set up a fund that people can donate to that would be used for energy sustainability and climate sustainability. And the resolution that we're presenting to you is modeled after the resolution that was used to create the fund for the Putney pool. I think it's word for word the same, except for a few places. The Putney pool they substitute the words energy, climate, sustainability, fundraising. So anyway, the idea is that there are projects that the Energy Committee thinks the town should work on, but we need money, and this is a way to try to get some money to do that without having to use town funds.
Sounds good.
Excellent idea.
You want to just get a signature on that while I'm thinking of it from Eileen? Maybe you already threw one, Eileen, but.
Oh, yeah, I did that. It's in the
Okay,
package
somewhere, okay.
I can sign another one.
So, yeah, and Karen, if we create this, does it then sort of exist in perpetuity? Is that how that functions? Okay.
Yeah, until it's,
Until it's either,
Like, we could
Yeah.
rescind it, I guess, right?
presumably, yeah, or close it out
Close
at
it
some
out,
point
yeah.
if it's empty.
right.
No, I mean,
This doesn't give a deadline on it, so I think it's it looks like it sits there until you abolish it.
Right. And the pool is the same way, Josh?
Yeah.
And so this is just creating the fund.
It's
This
created-
isn't
Committing funds to
Yeah.
it.
committing funds to it.
It's not
And-
taxpayers' dollars.
Right, and,
Right.
but there's also not associated with it, like the pool, there's not a fund drive or anything for this
Not-
yet.
not
This is
anymore.
just creating the fund.
This was
Yes.
just to
Okay,
create the fund
Yes.
first.
We do not have any proposed spending for it yet. We thought we'd try to find some money before we try to spend it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Sounds wise.
Just to be fair, in the long run, I think the Energy Commission may be looking for other sources of income besides donations. We may be looking for grants. And at some point, we already have $2,500 per year in the town budget for energy projects.
Right.
And so we're looking for tax monies, donations, and grants for future projects.
Got it.
So, and I'm just curious, I don't know whether this allows for, this really allows only for donations, so
Yes.
not for, so other grants, et cetera, would be received in a different line item and just
Right.
kept separate.
And they
Okay,
would go through the general fund, like,
Yeah.
this is $2,500 that's budgeted every year for energy conservation.
Yep.
And then what I had just found out is that that is supposed to be an internal transfer into an actual energy conservation account that's set up. And that hasn't been done for the last 4 years, so if it's not spent, it should
it
be
should be
moved into-
allocated into that, so
Yes.
that it accumulates.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
we would not be able to take the donated money
Right, and
and
move
put
it.
it in that
Right,
fund.
right.
Because it would be, we can't do it that way.
Yeah.
So the monies couldn't be mixed, but the monies could be spent on the same projects perhaps.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
So it's just
Take it
an
from-
accounting issue. It's not,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
got it.
yeah,
And a vehicle to allow for donations, which
Right.
otherwise are a little
I
complicated.
meant the
Yeah.
difference between
Yeah,
the
yeah.
two was just an accounting
Yeah.
issue, and I see why you're setting this up, it makes great sense.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
So do I hear a motion?
Oh,
I
you're
make,
much better at this than me.
I make a motion, to create a special revenue, I
To
guess
approve the
I
resolution.
guess we're adopting it, right?
Adopt or
Adopt a
approve
resolution creating a special revenue fund to account for donations received and their associated expenditures.
And I'll second that.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to adopt the resolution creating a special revenue fund to account for donations received and their associated expenditures related to the Energy Committee.
Mr.
Is there any further discussion, Mr. Fairman?
I can offer a clarification on what you were just talking about what can go into the fund. There is an accounting principle that assets shall not be commingled.
Right.
right.
And that's what, everything is kept separate, so you know, what's what and how much and so on.
And I think, thank you. And I think what we found with the pool was we started having money coming in and didn't have that specific place for it to go. And then it quickly turns into the risk of being commingled unintentionally. So,
Right.
Right.
so establishing the fund so that there's a very clear place for it to go is helpful. Any other questions or concerns, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan. Okay, so next is the Affordable Housing Committee charge.
So in your packet is a charge, because the board has not given the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee a specific charge. And without it, they need a little guidance from this board.
Mm-hmm.
So they were reactivated because of the potential affordable housing project down by the co-op.
Yeah.
So I drafted this, I sent it over to Mike,
Mhm.
And perhaps what needs to happen is that they have well, they can't have a conversation because this board needs to give them these specific tasks. So it's up to this board to guide them on what they're supposed to be doing at the moment.
I can say that I need some time to put in some
Yeah,
ideas
I would
of
agree.
how I would, my contribution to it. So, but thank you for bringing it. It's a lot of
yeah,
times the
so-
cart gets in front of the horse and
I know they wanna keep moving forward too though, so
Yes.
is there, can we at least specify this, there's a part here that's underlined here about that the Gateway Affordable Housing
Yeah.
piece, maybe can we at least.
Where did that charge come from?
I put it in there because we didn't have anything, this is
This is
just a
just-
draft.
this is-
So-
right, it's a specific-
so this isn't actually their charge yet. This is an example of what the charge might be.
No,
No,
this
this
is.
their
yes,
charge. Okay.
Yes. So if you want it more detailed, then you'll have to,
But we haven't approved this as their charge.
no.
Right,
Yeah.
so
So,
it isn't
right,
their charge yet.
Right. No, so, I mean, my feeling about that, just reading it, and as I have said many times, I'm a part owner, so I want to keep
Right.
appropriate distance from this. I would say that the charge should be to monitor proposed housing trust developments or whatever the proper terminology, not make it specific to this unless we have a valid reason to make it specific, but make it as ongoing monitoring of affordable housing. I understand the desire to have this be
Right.
specific, but I think we should also have it general enough so that it's not, unless we're convening them for the purpose of doing this and then we,
So I agree with you, only because of the timing of the ARPA and economic development with housing being priorities
Yeah.
in every municipality right
Yeah.
now. And I do agree it should be generic,
yeah,
but
this is the specific task right now.
right now, this is why they were generated, but I think with the town plan being revised, they can be helpful
Absolutely.
with that component as well. So the more generic is fine, but I think you still have to lay out some sort of boundaries.
Absolutely. And I'd like to, there's details that are important to me in this that I would like to be part of this.
And, yeah, well, I see Mike just popped up. Mike, I don't know whether you wanna, I mean, my feeling, you were hearing that discussion, or did you just come on? You were hearing that, okay. You wanna comment?
Thank you. I was gonna say, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Mrowicki,
Well, thank you.
or Representative Mrowicki, sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's just Mike.
It's Mr. Mike?
Mr. Mike.
Mr. Mike is a little tired from staying up last night to watch the whole ball game.
So,
Good on you.
The committee is somewhat not clear of the charge, and we would like to stay focused on what the select board does, because we don't want to usurp any other committees. We know there is a development review board that could look at aspects of this project. There have been safety concerns raised, not just about the project, but in town, and we do have a safety committee in town. So I want to make sure we're not overstepping our bounds and falling into a mission creep here. So that's why I think it's really important if you can look at this, and I understand it may take some time. So my question then would be, should the committee hold off subsequent meetings until a charge can be directed to us? And partly, looking at the timeline right now, I think we've got quite a bit of time before the Wyndham Housing Trust is anywhere close to I think they're talking about breaking ground a year from November. So that I think there's a lot of time, but we're here to serve the people of Putney. We're here to serve at your instructions, and I want to make sure we're not overstepping that. So that's where this request has come from.
I don't have any experience with this. I don't really know if the there would be harmful.
So
I can't, let's go ahead, Eileen.
well, it sounds like there's some, I thought there was a little bit of an urgency involved here, but it sounds like you have some time for us to be able to go through this.
I think so. The housing trust is still not clear about a plan. My understanding is there were some ideas for a plan, and that the initial soil testing turned up more clay where they were looking to build, which is going to impact stormwater drainage. So they're reconfiguring a little bit right now, and long-term timeline. The executive director of the Housing Trust was suggesting perhaps a year from, if everything goes well, a year from November to be breaking ground. So I think we have some time, and it would be helpful for this committee to have a charge. And I don't want to just hold meetings for the sake of holding meetings. I want everyone's time to be used as thoughtfully as we can, and still move forward on behalf of the select board and the town.
I don't remember, and I know Eva and I think you, Mike, and maybe Alan and myself were all part of the original Affordable Housing Committee. I would almost guess we had a charge back then, but that was quite some time ago. I don't know whether we did or not.
We weren't able to find.
Weren't able to find it? Okay, so, I mean, we were in a different circumstance then because we didn't have sort of a pending project. Actually, I think that was post-Basketville, I think, maybe, that we formed that committee. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, I think we should take our time, and I guess my feeling would be, and I'm gonna stay away from this proposed project, but I would be happy to contribute what I would think a more generic charge would be, and then if in this moment of rekindling, and actually I think I think the sort of rekindling of this committee might have even started really before the discussions surrounding Putney Gateways. I mean, they were there, but they weren't coming to the surface. And I think it was yours and others' hopes that we could bring this committee back around because it's an ongoing need. So,
yeah, and I think Lisa Papazian was on that as well.
That's true. Yeah, and Pip.
Yes.
Francis Temple.
Yeah. Mark Schleffer, Pip.
That's right. My sense is that if there's an urgency, it's the reality that Vermont and Putney, Windham County is really hurting for housing.
Yes.
And I'm talking about housing at every level except the highest level.
Yeah.
That I talked to Herb at the central school. He had some hires that have had trouble finding housing. My understanding is the new police chief in Brattleboro had such trouble finding housing. Right now she's in Hinsdale.
Yeah.
And we need to do something. I think there's not one solution, but I think what we can do at the town level, this is going to be a big discussion at the state level, but there needs to be a concerted effort to address our housing shortage. It's become an economic barrier. Yeah. And I think the future of Vermont is tied up in this. So there's this project in front of us, there's other things, but I think in terms of what's immediate right now is to look at this project.
Yeah.
No, I want to jump in. One of the things that breaks my heart is to see all of this Airbnb, and wonderful to be able to make $100 a night. and people work at the co-op, the general store, so on. We're talking about down on the bottom. They can't find a place, never mind, the police chief can't find a place, bless her heart. We can't find people to do jobs around here. I mean, here's this young whippersnapper that wants to cook at the Gleaner, he can't find a place to rent. Everybody, when I moved here, everybody had a back, shed or someplace, and we all held up in that. But now, they've been turned into Airbnb, and it's tragic. I am so, when those guys started Airbnb, they couldn't pay their rent. And now look what has happened internationally. In Barcelona, nobody can find housing at all now. We're coming to that in Vermont.
Well,
That the workers cannot find housing. And I'm pissed I'm concerned about Airbnb.
well, I think the other thing we're seeing in this moment certainly is huge increased pressure from other folks buying in Vermont.
That's another piece, yeah.
And, there's pros and cons to that, of course, but we've also, as a result of that, we've seen huge escalations in prices, and that's gonna increase, just by virtue of trickle down, that's gonna increase our housing shortage dramatically over time. So I think there's a whole bunch of different factors. I think
Absolutely, I'm just talking about the workers, the bottom of the show here is that Airbnb sucks away from their potential
Yeah.
to have a home.
I mean, I think that one of our, whether it was a charge or not, I think one of our original endeavors was to really explore sort of out of the box possibilities as to how to manage some of this. And, we only had so much luck with that, but as you'll probably recall, Brattleboro had that fund that they created so that people could fund fixing up spaces. And I think you're right, Eva, in this moment, that gets tapped for Airbnb type things, but I think this committee, and we should take this into consideration on our charge, is really saying, we need to be looking at different models of providing housing for people, because as it is, it's not, we're doing better than we were 10 years ago, because we have 2 places in town but we've lost ground as far as back apartments, et cetera. So anyway.
How many of the people living in low-income housing are actually workers and actually supplying the need that we have for tradespeople? Are those houses going to those people?
Well, I would want to address that, and Elizabeth Bridgewater addressed that, and there's a majority of people, a majority of the people in the housing are employed, are functioning, and I would hope she can send you folks the information that they broke down on wage earners in Putney and who would be eligible to live and what you need to earn to live. There were some questions brought to the last meeting. There were some clear answers. The other big question that somebody came up with was, that's pretty common, is do they pay property taxes? And indeed they do. They currently pay more than $30,000 in property taxes in Putney. This project would put that probably over $50,000. So they don't get breaks on property taxes either. So that's another question that's going to come up. And I hope we can get good information out there around this.
They do get breaks on property taxes, Mike, but they continue to pay the portion that's appropriate for them to pay.
There's a subsidization.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But what is the
Gets
break? What's the
applied.
percentage?
We'd have to get.
Yeah.
Okay, I
It
just
goes,
didn't know.
it comes down from the state.
Got it,
Yeah.
okay.
Mr. Fairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to give you copies of my presentation so you can read along with me. I must mention that in all my decades in the civic arena, this is the gravest matter I have ever dealt with.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fairman.
Attached to this letter are minutes published online by the Town of Putney Affordable Housing Advisory Committee for their September 29th, 2021 public meeting. As a resident of Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust's Putney Landing Affordable Housing, I note that these minutes record defamatory statements about all residents of Putney Landing spoken at a public meeting, then published online. Slander and libel, by definition, unless the speakers and/or members of the committee cited actual evidence against 12 innocent young families and 7 innocent senior citizens who live at Putney Landing. Evidence that speakers and/or members of the committee did not cite. We innocent residents of Putney Landing now have standing for and cause for legal action against the speakers and against members of the committee for defamation of character. Harms include, but are not limited to, adults' personal reputations and social standings, credit ratings, insurance and loan rates, and employment and promotion prospects, and children's social acceptance at Putney Central School, where half of Putney Landing residents are or will be students. Apparently hoping to obtain the missing evidence after defaming an innocent Putney Landing residents, the committee have invited the Town of Putney Fire Chief and/or the Wyndham County Sheriff and/or their delegates to deliver public presentations about frequencies and natures of 911 calls and responses for Putney Landing. These presentations will be profiling of residents of Putney Landing for living in Putney in affordable housing. Discrimination, regardless of whether these residents are Black, Indigenous, or people of color, which some Putney Landing residents are. The Town of Putney Equity and Inclusion Advisory Committee now could duly enlighten the Town of Putney Affordable Housing Committee, including me as a new member, because I know better than to do what they have done. But I cannot join this committee while I am a plaintiff in legal actions for defamation of character and for profiling. I therefore strongly suggest that the Town of Putney Select Board now require the Town of Putney Affordable Housing Advisory Committee to cancel their planned presentations by the Town of Putney Fire Chief and/or the Wyndham County Sheriff and/or their delegates about frequencies and natures of 911 calls and responses for Putney Landing. I also therefore strongly suggest that the Town of Putney now require each and every member of the Town of Putney Affordable Housing Advisory Committee as the first agenda item of their next public meeting to apologize individually and personally for their defamations of Putney Landing residents or be removed from the committee per the Town of Putney Committee membership policy. I further strongly suggest that the Town of Putney Select Board now require the Town of Putney Affordable Housing Advisory Committee to record and publish a minute of their next public meeting, documenting each and every member's public apology and retracting the defamatory minutes of their September 29, 2021 public meeting. After all of the above have happened, I shall be free to join the committee to prevent any recurrence of defaming and/or profiling of anyone. I understand that the Town of Putney Affordable Housing Advisory Committee have never received a purpose and charge from the Town of Putney Select Board. I therefore suggest that you now instruct the committee that they cannot inquire in any manner about actual and/or potential residents of affordable housing, nor any other housing in the Town of Putney. Please guide yourselves accordingly.
Thank you. It's clear to me, since I haven't had time to read these minutes and/or consider this, that we should probably ask, Mike, when are you proposing to have a next meeting?
It would be a week from tonight, and if I could, I'd like to address Howard's comments.
Yeah.
Because I feel much of it is well-founded, and part of it is due to the miscommunication that what was posted was premature. These are not approved minutes. These are proposed minutes that were taken by Pip. And Howard's points are well taken, and my intention at the next committee was, before we approved those minutes, that I was ready to apologize for the behaviors and some of the things that were said at that meeting. Furthermore, I'm not aware that the fire chief was invited to the meeting. As the chair of the committee, I have not offered any invitation to Tom to attend the next meeting. We did invite the sheriff and lieutenant from the state police, and our intention was not to look at the 911 calls at any one place, but to look at public safety in general. And to address actually the accusations that were made about the state police and sheriff by an individual on the committee, so they could assuage the concerns that they in fact do more than, quote, nothing. One of the reasons I'm here tonight is because we need stricter parameters for what this committee is about, and I think this is illustrative of where we don't need to go and where we might go without a stronger charge from the select board. Bottom line, I would say Howard's points are well taken, and I appreciate him bringing these points to the board. And as far as the posting of unapproved minutes, I will see what we can do. Those minutes were never presented to the board yet, so they should not have been posted.
I have to correct you on that, Michael, because open meeting law, you have 5 days to post minutes from any committee. And they
Okay, so,
they don't have to be approved,
yeah,
but they have to be on the website.
okay, so in the future, I'm gonna ask our committee to share them with the committee before posting them. I understand that piece that you're saying now, but
Yeah.
one of our actions we need to take is to revise those minutes.
Well, I have a question. I must have been in the nursing home when this meeting happened.
No.
No,
Is
it
that
was
right?
just,
When did this meeting happen?
just last week, Eva.
What?
Last week.
Okay. Well, I'm resigning as of this moment from the committee. Health-wise, I don't think I can keep up with it. I'm so happy, Mike, and I don't know who the members are now, but I'm finished with it. I can't keep up with it. Obviously, it was last week. I was not notified that there was a meeting, and so I'm done.
Was she officially appointed back to this
No.
committee?
No,
Yeah,
she wasn't.
Oh, great.
You weren't reappointed, Eva, so you don't need to
Free
resign.
and clear.
Oh, I'm so grateful because no, I'm serious. I'm
We
serious.
do that.
I'm serious, and thank you all. And
Yes.
I didn't know anything about it. I'm glad I'm not appointed. Oh, hallelujah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Fairman.
Representative Murwicki, of course, as an esteemed and excellent politician, has attempted to spin this issue. But the harm has already been done and must be rectified. Otherwise, we shall have to proceed legally. Because we, the residents of Putney Landing, have been slandered by public statements in a public meeting and have been libeled by posting of those minutes online for everyone in the world to read. And the essence of these minutes is this. A member of the committee stated she felt unsafe in Putney, blaming Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust residents. And it further goes to say that they feel that the problem is Putney Landing residents. Now, we at Putney Landing are typical citizens of the town of Putney in the state of Vermont. We are 12 innocent young families. We are 7 innocent senior citizens. We have done nothing. We have been charged with nothing. But we have been accused publicly of being bad people. And that is simply slander. It is libel, because slander is spoken, libel is published, and we shall have justice. The only question is whether you, the town of Putney Select Board, are going to bring this committee to heel, as I suggested, or whether we rectify this matter by other means. So at this point, it is your choice. But actually, Representative Moriki's comments do not rectify the harm. The harm has already occurred, and certain members of the committee knew better than to allow these statements to be made in the committee in the first place. And moreover, certain members of this committee knew better than to put them in minutes and post the minutes online. So there's no going back at this point. What we have to do is rectify the matter, and the only way to do it is essentially as I have outlined. Now that, of course, may be subject to negotiation, but the matter has to be rectified so that our reputations, and especially the reputations of the young children there who face the discrimination on the playground that we all remember, are held harmless for what has happened here. There is no excuse whatsoever for it, and no excuse will be accepted. This is going to be rectified. The only question is how.
So
So
I would recommend that first thing we need to do is, well, not first thing, but something one of the steps we need to take is we need to have legal counsel review this for us.
Mhm.
And I think that
Mhm.
that's
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely.
To see whether, see what our responsibility is in, I mean, I think what Mr. Fairman is asking is that the members of this committee rectify the circumstances that occurred, and then asking us to govern the committee in a way so that that
That
doesn't happen again.
Right.
okay,
So,
and I have something. So I haven't read all of these minutes, but I've skimmed them, and I agree. There's a little more information in here than really needs to be here.
Right.
There are minutes and there are minutes, right? So I know these are draft minutes. Is there any reason why they can't be redrafted and then posted again?
no, well, they've already been posted, so they're already in the public domain, so,
I understand that,
yeah.
but they are draft.
yes, so,
Yes.
right.
Can they be reposted?
And presumably, Mike, since you have not had another meeting, these minutes have not been voted to be approved, correct?
Correct.
Right,
That's right.
so, yeah. So they,
Just to-
so they
just to
can be,
remove
so
it
they
off
can
of the
be,
public
so they can be
domain.
corrected
Yeah,
or
yeah.
amended as appropriate.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, I think that would be up to that committee, obviously, to handle that. So I think it sort of circles back, though, Mike, to your question of whether you should continue meeting without a charge. My guess is probably not right now.
Sure. So
Yeah.
to that end though, might I suggest that we meet without a topic for the meeting except to rectify
The
what
minutes?
Howard has rightly pointed out is the injustice done to himself and the other residents of Putney Landing and actually the Platt's house as well.
Should we talk to council before we tell him he should do that?
I think that's probably fine, Mike, but we should probably get advice of counsel
Yeah.
first. But I would say, why don't you said a week from when?
From tonight.
Okay, so we'll seek counsel. Karen's gonna be out of town, so, we'll follow up, we'll seek counsel and see, that sounds appropriate to me, but if counsel advises otherwise, I will let you know. Does that sound
Yeah,
okay?
that sounds
Yeah,
good.
that sounds right to me.
Okay,
I can have Alyssa.
get this to council.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or I'll get it to council tonight and then you can
Yeah.
coordinate with her and.
Follow up with Josh, right?
Yes.
And then I
Yeah.
can follow up with Lisa
Yes.
or with their office.
Yeah.
But,
Fairman,
yes, Mr. Fairman.
I of course agree that you should have reference to counsel. It has been suggested that all that is needed is to correct the minutes. I emphasize, the harm has already
No.
been done.
Yeah, no, that's not, I was,
If I may continue, as I don't interrupt you, you don't interrupt me, I believe. The harm must be rectified, the minutes must be retracted, and apologies must happen from the people who made those statements at the meeting. And I would suggest that you seriously consider whether people who conduct themselves in that manner should in fact be members of a committee advising the town of Putney Select Board. But of course, how you handle that is up to you, because you are the town of Putney Select Board. On the other hand, we are the voters of the town of Putney. And in terms of the residents of Putney Landing, we certainly have full legal recourse in the courts and are quite prepared to pursue that if we must.
Sounds fair. So I think we seek counsel. Both on the issues as presented and on what the recourse is, and we, depending on what we hear from council, we may have to have a brief special meeting at some point early next week, or we'll go from there.
And for the record, I was not suggesting that was the only thing that needed to be fixed. It was just that I was aware that the longer that they're there, the more exposure they'll have. So.
Well, they could, and I guess I would leave that to your discretion, Mike. They could be taken, down.
They can be,
Actually, they can't, they're a public record.
Well, they
Well,
could
they
be,
can be taken
they
down
don't have
from
to
the
be on the website as a public record, but they, I don't know, I'm not sure what the answer to that one is. I mean, they would still be available by request, obviously.
Right.
Let me put it this way, Mr. Chairman. We can debate the matter of whether they can be removed online, but they have been published. They are, per the Vermont Open Meeting Law, a public record.
Absolutely.
I think
I'm not questioning that at
We're missing
all.
our intent here.
Yeah. No,
Our intent is to not brush it under the rug. We're trying to not do any more
Well, I
harm.
quite understand. I
And
have,
she certainly, please, she certainly wasn't saying that was all that needed
No.
to happen. That was clear to me. She was asking a question
well,
with the intent of trying to do good, not.
Your points are well taken, and select person Shute, if I misunderstood what you said during debate, these things happen, but of course you have my apologies for that. But you are right, select person Babbitt, that as far as I know, I have not faulted the town of Putney Select Board, and certainly if you feel I have, I did not intend to do so.
Absolutely.
You have the general supervision of the affairs of the town. All advisory committees are appointed by you and work for you. You tell them what to do and what not to do. Those are the parameters of advisory committees. So I have laid out some, as I say, I strongly suggest that, but of course, I can only suggest.
Right.
But the harm has been done, and the harm must be rectified. That is the bottom line.
I believe.
so we will figure out the appropriate path forward for that, and it'll all be a public record. I think that I totally agree with you that that it is absolutely of public record. Currently, the taking it down from the website would be, the intent would be to get less exposure than was necessary. And there would be pros and cons to that, but I think, I don't know, that I might leave that to the town manager's discretion. And or Mike, do you have a recommendation on that one?
My understanding about what is required in minutes is pretty much, it needs to be a record of who was there and any actions taken. It doesn't have to be a transcript of the meeting.
Correct.
And I think there was an attempt to in fact provide more detail in the transcript, all with good intentions. My sense is that we should take that down before more damage is done, that after you're speaking with counsel you let us know what we can do to rectify this situation, because I believe we should.
Sounds good.
Great.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Fairman.
I recognize and appreciate Mr. Morwicki's goodwill on this matter. Clearly, there are ways to work through this. I would simply say that there is no possible way that the offending minutes could be construed as being somehow good intentions. In other words, somehow this would be good for someone. There is no possible way this could be true.
Yeah, I don't think he was necessarily saying it would be good for someone. I think he was, how I received it was that it was somebody's intent to accurately reflect a discussion that occurred. It turns out that discussion was rightfully and clearly offensive and damaging to some people and problematic, and so.
And there are people who were present at the meeting who are the exact opposite of novices in these matters and did not do anything. Had I been a member of the committee at that time, this would not have happened, because I would have put a stop to it in no uncertain manner the moment it began to occur, because it is simply not allowed. And the reason it's not allowed is, if you say it, it is slander. If you publish it, it is libel. That's it. And I have laid out the harms. And I'm especially concerned about the harms to the children, because this sort of thing gets around town.
Yeah.
And the kids get it get it on the playground, and they most certainly do not deserve it because they cannot defend themselves.
Yeah.
Plenty among we adults can give as good as we get, but little kids can't do that, nor should they even be asked to try.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how we proceed from here, and we will try and make sure that nothing of this nature occurs again, certainly, and we will see what the proper steps are to rectify it as best as possible.
Well, as usual, our town of Putney Selectboard are exemplary in handling challenging matters, and I once again commend you for this, as I have before in other issues.
Thank you, much appreciated. Okay, so we have an Affordable Housing Advisory Committee appointment recommendation. I think that appointment is Mr. Fairman, and I'm gathering from this letter that perhaps, for the moment anyway, his interest in being appointed to the committee has been put on hold.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. Just recalling what I said, I cannot join this committee while I am a plaintiff in legal actions for defamation of character and for profiling. After all of the above have happened, referring to the rectification, I shall be free to join the committee to prevent any recurrence of defaming and or profiling of anyone. I've been doing this a long time. I know how can I put it? I do not allow anything like that to happen when I'm a member of an organization. So, for the moment, I am not a candidate because I cannot be both a plaintiff and a defendant in a legal proceeding.
That sounds very appropriate. So we will table that advisory committee appointment recommendation pending resolution of this issue. We'll table it until a future date. So,
Sure.
thank you for bringing this to our attention, and hopefully we can rectify it as best as possible. All right, so that's the end of our items. Other business select board items.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, oh, sorry, Mike, I moved on without that. Yes, is there anything else to add to that discussion?
well, to that end, my question is, should we go ahead with the planned meeting next Wednesday, or should we wait until we hear from council?
Well, you need, you need 48 hours, or how long to post to warn a meeting?
48 for a regular meeting.
But you
So-
can then
Okay.
cancel it.
So,
So I would say, Mike, let me see what I find out in the next couple days. I'll try and get back to you before the end of the week. And
Okay.
otherwise, if, you know, sometimes they can't get to us till the beginning of the following week. But if we get to Monday and you haven't heard anything, I would say you could post it, and then if you need to cancel it, you need to cancel it. But let me see what I can find out. I'll get back to you as quickly as I can.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other business for select board discussion or action? Hearing none, we are going to enter executive session, so if I could entertain a motion to do so. Thank you, Mr.
I
Fairman.
make a motion to enter executive session under Title I V.S.A. 313A3.
And I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to enter executive session under Title I V.S.A. 313. Unless there's any further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I would like to invite
Karen?
the town manager,
Please.
and I don't believe we'll be making any decisions tonight.
No.
So we will inform you of timeline and adjournment, et cetera, and go from